Welcome to Magic Moderner, and today I wanted to do a video, probably quite a long video, talking about the 911 GTS. This is a 911 991.2 GTS, sits between the C4S and the turbo. And when I research a car and when I'm thinking about buying a car, I love to go onto YouTube and learn as much as I can about it. So I thought I would do a bit of a walk round of mine, and go into quite a lot of detail, and then hopefully for anyone who's sort of stuck at home in lockdown, they're thinking about cars and maybe one day being able to drive them, this would be a good piece of information for them. So I'm going to do, this one is really a stationary, just looking around the car, and then I will do a second one when we're on the road and talk more about how it drives. But let's just have a look first of all. And I've in the past I've had a 997 and a 996, so this is my third Porsche, and I've had mixed experiences. My 996 was a bit of a dog and was breaking down quite regularly, mainly little switches and sensors and you name it. And the 997 was bulletproof and nothing ever went wrong with it. The GTS, as I say, is between the C4S and the turbo, and you can see just on its profile it's very squat. It's obviously got the flared wheel arches at the back that I'll show you, but it's a very SWAT. It's lower than even the C4S, and I think you'll agree that makes it incredibly sporty. It's obviously got those massive wheels on it, which are hard to see in this light, but I think you'll agree it's a very cool looking car. Beautiful red brakes on this one. The wheels are a bitch to clean, with all those spokes, but nevertheless really lovely to look at. So let's have a look at the inside first of all of the 911. I've gone for a pretty classic black leather interior. One of the big questions, and something that I know a lot of people research, is how practical is this for taking passengers? So one thing you might not know is the convertibles have an even more, in fact the back seats on a convertible kind of lean forwards, so they're not that comfortable, but in the Carrera I think they would be described as straight. And before I talk about like what you can get in the back here, just quickly show you, they're actually really good. Same happens on the other side. You can lay both seats flat, and then you actually have a lot of storage back there, which is really useful. As far as getting kids in there, I'm not the tallest in the world. I can get in there. You have to kind of lean to the center console, but an adult can get in the back. Probably not an old adult, because they tend to get stuck and they can't get out in and out very easily. But kids can go in the back. I would say any young teenagers, no problem. They might moan a bit on a long journey, but they are usable, they are practical. As I say, if you don't need it for adults, then those seats come forwards, and then they really are properly useful for luggage. So talking of luggage, I'll just pop the boot. Again on the theme of practicality, let's have a look. So you know, this boot is good for a decent shop. It's good for 2 or 3 holdalls. Shoes on at the moment, but I can show you if I put my leg in. Goes up to my knee. So you actually can get quite a lot in there. Like, that is definitely a week's worth of clothing in soft bags, I would suggest. So I think between that boot and the storage at the back, you've actually got a really practical, in inverted commas, car when you think about, you know, going away and traveling and so on. So inside, I mean, I love the inside of the 911. You feel like properly ensconced. Excuse the mess, I took my, let's call this car lived in. I just love the feeling in a 911. You properly feel like you're ensconced in your own cockpit. And you know, I think it's a quality, it is really nicely put together. I mean, notable things, I would say, coffee cup holder, nice idea. You ping this open, you've got 2 of these. They're okay. As I'm sure other people will say, they will, the cup goes in here, it has a habit of spilling if you go over bumps. It doesn't quite grip it. Let's say if you're a small coffee drinker, you're okay, and a large becomes slightly problematic. Mine has the Alcantara sides and top, which is lovely. And you know, the storage is fine. It's got the usual glove pockets. These kind of pull out like that to push back in. And then I think this is a bit of a Porsche thing, but the center console looks like you're going to have a nice deep pocket, and actually they just give you enough room for a phone, which is fine. It is what it is. And you know, the usual glove box there. Steering wheel wise, beautiful steering wheel, gotta say, just love holding this thing. It's just so comfortable. Not too much on the steering wheel in terms of buttons and so on. Phone controls on that side, and that I'll show you a little bit what that rollerball does there, and then the same on that side with the volume control. Let me just get some of the electrics going. Usual stuff, windows and so on there. The fan is on full blast because it actually packed up recently, and I think it was, if you leave this car standing for too long, there is a risk that the fan that is for the blower will give in on itself. But it's actually a really simple fix, so if anyone has that problem, just let me know in the comments. So in terms of you know, what the various buttons do, you can see you've got, what I really love is the electronic gauge there, as well as all the classical ones. But in the electronic one, with this button here, you roll this button and you'll see you can sort of switch between all the different things there, so you get a good view of what's going on. It's quite nice to have the sat nav there. I rarely use the inbuilt sat nav because I always use Apple CarPlay, which I'm sure you're all aware that most of these vehicles run on nowadays. Obviously, the most interesting thing when it comes to driving is this lovely button here, and it's got Sport and Sport Plus. The Sport and Sport Plus will basically sort of create a combination of these different settings. So this button is spoiler, to put the spoiler on, manually put the exhaust sound on and have that override and just hear all the burbling, and which I love. This is the ride control, Porsche active management system, I think it is, and the other is to take off take off all the sort of traction control and so on, which I would not recommend unless you're a very experienced driver. But depending on what setting, you can't see. But if I turn to sport, then the exhaust comes on, and the can't remember what they call it, but when the engine shuts off when you come to a stop, and automatic stop start. And when you have it on sport, that comes on. If you put sport plus, then the PASM comes on as well. So it really is just sort of presets. Now I tell you, I drive in sport most of the time because of the beautiful exhaust sounds that have all the burbling and popping, and it's quite addictive, frankly. And I prefer to have that in place. They have down here, you've got the open the boot and open the bonnet, and then behind here you've got the gear changes and so on behind the paddles. I find them like they're quite stiff, the paddles actually. They're not kind of, I've driven other cars before, are really soft and they just really easy. These, you have to sort of have a little pull on them to get them to work. It's no big deal. I did have a Maserati GTS once, and the paddles stayed stationary, and I have to say I do prefer that, because when you're on full lock on this, if your hands are having to move, then you kind of have to seek out the change gear button, whereas when they're stationary, you know, they're always there, they're always doing what they should do. So yeah, I mean, it's nice. I try and hold on to the steering wheel, frankly, when I'm at pace. But yeah, so you know, the inside of here is a nice place. I think the stereo is good. It's not fantastic. I just feel like it could do with a bit more bass and just slightly higher quality, but it's pretty good. And I will say, I was surprised. There is a lot of road noise. When you're on the motorway, this is not a quiet car. I was sort of, obviously you expect there to be engine noise and all of that, but the actual, when you're in cruise mode, it is still quite a noisy car, mainly because of the massive wheels, which I get. But maybe just a little bit noisier than I would have thought. However, it is what it is. It's a sports car. It's what you expect. So I'm just going to turn it on. Just think you agree, it's a pretty lovely sound. Yeah, and you know, when it's on, if you're driving away, then you know, you're over to the left for manual and to use the gear change, and then back over here for automatic. Lots of things beeping at me for they're not happy with things. You know, I normally drive it in manual, to be honest. It is something that it's quite hard not to do. And then I'll just, before we sort of finish off, there's a Mini hybrid. And just popped. I love the lights. I'll never stop loving the back of Porsches. If you were to open the boot, bonnet rather, there is not much to see. You've got oil and water in there, but you know, really the engine on a Porsche is a private thing, only reserved for people who are going to charge you a lot of money to have it fixed. So that is the GTS. It does drive incredibly well, so I'll follow up with exactly what it's like to drive, and talk a bit more about this. But you know, it is a wonderful car. I think it is a car that you can use for more than just tuning around. It is a day-to-day car. It is my day-to-day car. Now I'm past that kind of time, but incidentally on the back seats you can put baby seats in there. I had my son in there through baby seat into booster seat till he was about 5, I think, and then it started to get a bit tight, if the truth be known. But again, you know, it can take you through many different stages and many different life stages, and you know, so far this is 4 months in, so I'll follow up with it on the road and just talk a bit more about how it drives and some of the different driving modes, and hopefully give you a really good steer for how this car is compared to, I don't know, maybe you're thinking about a different model, maybe you're thinking about a 997, maybe you think about a C4S. I mean, all of these Porsches are ridiculously good. This one, I think, versus the 997 C4S just feels like another step. I mean, it's clearly quicker. It does 0 to 60 in around 4 seconds, 194 miles an hour, 450 brake horsepower. You know, it's a proper sports car, and it is a step up from the C4S. But I have to say, you know, I'm comparing to a 997. I'm pretty sure if you were to jump in a C4S of this era, you would find that it's absolutely top drawer as well. So, you know, you'd have to look at the options you get and what you get for your money. But I would say there's not going to be much in it. I just love the look of this one, and couldn't resist it. Okay, so let's see what it's like to drive. So here we are in the 911 GTS, and I wanted to so we're going to go for a drive and just give you a little sense of a couple of the different functions and different settings that you've got in the car. I mean, the first thing to say is, like, right now I am in standard automatic, no other settings on. I guess you can hear I think the thing that, as I said earlier, it is noisier in the car than I thought it would be. I don't know why. It is a high performance sports car, but I sort of felt like it would be quieter than it is, and then, you know, turn into a monster at some point when you change the settings. But it's reasonably noisy inside, and the tyre noise in particular. I'm surprised how busy it is around town at the moment. I thought we were in a lockdown. But yeah, there's quite a lot of road noise. I don't know how much comes up through the microphone, but so, you know, when you're in automatic mode, it is very easy to drive. It's very smooth. It's got the traction control. It's super comfy. I love this steering wheel. Anyone who loves a sports steering wheel, I think it's got such a great feeling. It's kind of as with many Porsches, the pedals are kind of set slightly to the left, so you sort of feel like you're pointing a little bit inwards. But it's really comfortable. It's a great tourer. We're not going to get a chance to do a lot of the touring, but it is a great tourer as well. So, fabulous little car to drive around. I'm pleased today because the heating's working. The fan stopped working, which, after a bit of research on YouTube, it discovered that, like, because I left it standing for a couple of weeks, the fan blocked, and it was literally just a case of taking the plastic off, giving the fan a flip, and it was mended again. So, hot tip there: if your fan heater ever gives in, we'll turn it on. There are a lot of buttons. You get used to them, but there's a lot of buttons. I quite like that. A lot of people moan about buttons. I quite like the fact that these things each have their function. you know, so this is the day-to-day 911. This is the drive around town, no problems, no drama. You don't have to be Lewis Hamilton to be able to drive the thing. It's not that scary. And then what I'm going to do is just do a little bit of country road. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it into manual, and I'm going to move it into sport. I don't know if you'll hear any difference immediately, but there's a little bit more engine noise now. And I'll open the window, it might be too noisy, but you can enjoy some of the popping when you take your foot off. Here we go. I don't know if you could pick that. I'll try that. Yeah, I don't know if you get that, but so now I'm in sport, and the exhaust is popping, which is lovely. I'm obviously using the paddles, which I talked about earlier. Just they're pretty stiff. You have to work at them a little bit. Everything's sharpened up. Second now. Just give it a little squirt. You have to be a bit careful because it's only a few degrees. Here we go. So really, when you put your foot down, this thing is a monster. But you can hear, I don't know if you can hear the gurgling, whatever. So, you know, this is now, okay, so you're driving along. I love it in this mode because I can't get enough of the popping of the exhaust. And I'm going to turn on a little bit of country road, and you'll, you know, in sport mode, I don't put it on Sport Plus because, I don't know, it just feels like you really need to be on a track for Sport Plus. Sport Plus is, you know, it holds it in it really sharpens up everything to the fullest extent. I think sport is plenty. If you're going like the country roads, like I'm about to do, you could put the Porsche management system on in terms of keeping everything balanced and whatever. So I've just put that on. There's a little button down here. It's greasy out today, so we're obviously watching our step. But that basically means that all the dampers around the car are independently looking at keeping you flat, basically, as you go around the corners. So there is very little car roll as we go around these corners. It reminds me of Pretty Woman when she said it corners like it's on rails. It absolutely does. It's a monster on these country roads. The only thing is watching out for cyclists and the like. I don't know if you can hear the gears in the background, but this is its perfect state, I think. Just winding country roads, keeping it on that gear, getting that gear right, and it is monumental. What I wanted to do was go to do a little bit of stretch. I'm just trying to think where we can go do more of a motorway stretch, so you can get a sense of the road noise side of it, just in case you did think you were looking at a kind of luxury tourer. It's definitely not that. So many bicycles around. And let's see, I'm going to go down this little road here. Just show you a little sense of the launch control. Oh, it did not like that. It did not like it's too cold out here. It was just wheel spinning. It's like, hey, I don't mind launch controlling, but I draw the line at that much. It was just stationary, nice. You get a sense of the craziness going on behind you in this engine, and the rear wheel drive trying to get hold of some bit of grip on this road. I can't describe, you know, like I've had Maserati GTS, 2 Porsches. As you know, I've got the Modena in the garage that's probably going to stay away for a little bit now. And the Porsches are just, they feel incredible on the road. So I would highly recommend getting one of these. Okay, so we're going to just drive down, do a quick loop of the motorway. Sorry, I've got my mic on. Just put my mic on. We're going to do a quick loop of the motorway. Just give you a sense of what the car's like. Hear the road noise though, right? Maybe I'm going on too much about it, but just surprised me. I think, like, technology wise, as I said, the stereo's pretty good. Lacks a bit of bass, I think. All the other controls are pretty straightforward. I mean, the infotainment system, I noticed, I've been watching a few videos about the Taycan. I'm just thinking about going electric, and I noticed a lot of this same setup technology-wise. I saw, obviously, there's a lot of other screens and stuff over there, but I saw the infotainment system was quite similar, which surprised me, because it's a bit, I don't know, I find it a bit basic. It just looks, it's all in black and white. I don't know, it just sort of feels like just having it in black and white makes it look a bit more from the 80s. And there just seems to be a lot of, there's tuner, there's media, you know, I'm like, I think they could consolidate some of this stuff. But there's me just being fussy maybe. So we're about to go on the motorway. Give it a little blip on the accelerator. It's not a straight slip road, so literally just going to pop down one junction. Here we go. cruising speed. I'm gonna, hopefully this mic's working, and yeah, you have to talk over that. It's not like, I think the Ferrari's quieter, which is saying something. It's a bit more wind noise on the Ferrari. Give you a few squirts of the watch videos of cars, you just can't drive these cars. You really need to drive them on a track, which I've never done. They're just too bloody fast. I don't know what else to say. You can't really accelerate through the gears to top revs. Without nice little flip of the motorway. I mean, I love this car. The only trouble since buying this car is it forces me to make comparisons with the Ferrari, which is clearly a lot older. Does. I had a Jeep before, so the Jeep and the Ferrari, in terms of, they were so different that there was no comparisons. These are both sports cars, and the Porsche is just another era, another 10 different levels above in terms of how it drives. But the Ferrari is an exciting experience too. Someone I knew just passed. The Ferrari is an experience, though. I think that's the only way I can put it. It's an event. I can drive around Beaconsfield with this, and you know, people notice. But you drive around the Ferrari, that gets looks. That gets looks. So I'm going to sign off now. I hope you've enjoyed this little walk around and get to know the car a little bit more. More to come. Top tip: don't do launch control starts in the cold. And Happy New Year from Magic Modern. It's been a pleasure.